All right, Elizabeth, this is one of my favorite topics, if you will, influencers. One of my first influencers was my grandfather. Him and my grandmother, my mom, my aunt came from Kyiv to Canada, and he used to take me for a walk in parks in Montreal. They went to Montreal, and when I was 5, and long story short, one day I asked him, I called him Zeta. I said, Zeta, how do you know all these people that you talk to? And he said, well, one day I smiled at that guy and he came over and smiled at me. And then we started talking and we were having fun. And then someone came over to us because we were smiling and laughing, saying, what are you guys doing? Good to meet you. And I said, well, this is pretty easy. You can just make friends by smiling. But they were really influencing each other, as I learned even more and more as I went along, because they became, and then they started doing things together, and then this and that and the other. So I know we get lots of influencers in one way or another, sometimes for a second, sometimes for a lifetime. But can you share maybe 2 or 3 that have been influential in your life?
Sure. Well, it might sound trite, but probably the biggest influence on my life is my mother. She was a single mother who raised my brother and I herself, and financially as well, because my father got tired of chasing him for child support, and she was just quite a role model, and she was really cared about what she did with her time and and her children came first. And I have to tell you, I lost her 10 years ago, but there's not a day that I don't put on a blouse and think, oh, mom never liked this blouse, and I'll take it back off. Or think about what I would want to tell her about what I'm doing now. And then the
Yeah.
second one is my stepfather in a related way, but he was obviously not my biological father, but
Who was your bonus father?
he's my bonus father, and he really raised me from when I was a young girl. And he was, I guess, the best story about him was when it was the Jewel Ball, the debutante ball that in Kansas City, which is a big deal for a little girl. And your dad has to escort you and has to do waltz lessons with you. And I asked my dad, and he said, "No, sorry, it's hunting season." And I came home in tears. This was the story of my relationship with my dad, and came home in tears. And my mom was dating this guy at the time, and we were talking about it over dinner. And he goes, "Well, honey, if you'd let me, I would do it." I said, "You can't do it. He lives in Washington, D.C. He's under Secretary of Commerce. He lives in Washington. And you have to do waltz lessons every Thursday for 10 weeks." He said, "Yeah." Every week he flew to Kansas City, waltzed with me, and took a red eye back.
Wow.
That's the man he was. And he sat with me in the courts in Calgary in the winter when I was going through my depositions and my trial with my ex-husband, and has been by my side through thick and thin, even though he doesn't have to. I'm not his blood, but I'll tell you, that's thicker than blood.
100%. I have a pillow that says everybody can be a father, but not everybody can be a dad.
Mm, true.
So that's it. Anybody else you want to note?
Well, there are long lists of people who have influenced me, but I think we'll leave it at those two.
Cool. Well, what I've always learned is we're always influencing people too, whether we know it or not. And it's our choice to be positive or not. So maybe the choice should be obvious that
Well, that's one of the things, Mark, that I see as sort of my personal mission is I know one of my sort of superpowers is to have a contagious optimism. And that's something that's lacking in this world, and especially with regard to homelessness. And so I try to make it part of what I do with my day to be inspiring optimism and reigniting, the can-do attitude and the innovative thinking. And, I'm not going to do it alone, but if I could spread this virus and get more people thinking courageously, then I've done some good in the world.
well, it's contagious. So keep spreading it.
Thank you.
I love it. Thanks.